Hi guys, welcome to my channel, The Crazy World We Die In. I cannot believe it's been 15 years since we've lost who I believe is the greatest entertainer ever. Michael Jackson died 15 years ago, and when I was thinking about the next video to make, I was thinking it's only right that I do some form of tribute to him, just to reiterate how great he was. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a couple of things, just mainly three albums that I'm going to concentrate on. Obviously, Michael had an absolute abundance of work from his early days when he's part of the Jackson 5 and then the Jacksons, and then even his later work to Blood on the Dance Floor and Ghost. But the three albums that I'm gonna concentrate on, funny enough, are the three albums that were produced by Quincy Jones. So guys, if this is the first time you've been on my channel, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. So I'm going to break this video down and talk about a couple of things. I'm just going to talk about Michael and probably his influence upon me. So growing up in the 80s, I had a number of heroes. So I had John Barnes, I had Zach Morris, and I had Michael Jackson. Now, when I grew up, when I was listening to music, his main album at the time was the Bad album. Now, Bad was, honestly, it was the album that I loved more than anything else. So in those days, it was a bit different to now. Now you have streaming, now you have MP3s, now you have all these different, Spotify and Amazon Music. But then, if you wanted to listen to music, you only had a couple of ways of doing it. You had CDs. Well, no, even before that, you really had tape and LPs, records. You had the odd video channel, so MTV, or you had the radio station. So those were the three ways that you would generally listen to music. Now, I was lucky enough that I had an older sister, and she had the Bad album, and what she would do for me often is she would burn that Bad album and put it on a tape. Now that tape I would then put in a Walkman, and then that Walkman would I would listen to. So yeah, that usually was the process. Now, if you remember from those days with LPs, and the Bad album is one of the albums that I certainly remember. In the actual LP sleeve, it actually had the lyrics to all the songs. So I don't know if that's still a thing anymore. So one of the brilliant things about having the words on the album sleeve was, now sometimes I hear people listening to lyrics and they don't know the words. I'll give you an example, and the Bad album is a perfect example of this. Now, the last song on the Bad album was Smooth Criminal. Now, if you remember the song, you remember that there's a part where Michael says the lyric, and are you okay? Now, over the years, I've heard numerous people say that particular part of the song and say something completely different. I can't give you an example, but the only reason I know that lyric is because I used to be able to read it on the sleeve when I used to wait for my sister to finish my tape to give to me. So yeah, that was certainly an advantage of having lyrics to albums, which is something which I don't think we have anymore, which is such a shame, really. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's three bodies of work I'm going to concentrate on. So the first one I'm going to concentrate on is Michael Jackson's album Off the Wall. Now, a lot of people think Michael Jackson's first album was Off the Wall, but actually his fifth solo album. He had four solo albums that he did with Motown when he was part of the Jackson and the Jackson 5s. I think Off the Wall was probably the album that first shot him to superstardom. Off the Wall came out in 1979, and it had three main songs. It was a brilliant album, if I'm perfectly honest. It had Rock With You, it had She's Out of My Life, and it had Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Three great songs. I mean, you hear them now and you still nod your head. I think that was definitely the start of showcasing Michael's absolute brilliance. In terms of numbers, and I mean, considering this is 1979, these album sales are different to now. So things like streaming wasn't a thing. Literally, album sales was when you went out and you bought an album from whatever shop it was. Now, Off the Walls album sales were over 20 million, which is astounding, really. If again, and I'll probably say it a number of times during this video. So if you think that this was in 1979, this album came out and he sold 20 million. I mean, if you think about it, if Michael was actually alive now and was doing this thing right now with what we got with all the streaming services, his numbers would be astronomical. Absolutely brilliant, and I think we really need to appreciate just how great Michael was. So we then moved to 1982 with arguably the greatest album of all time, definitely the biggest selling album of all time. Yeah, I'm talking about Thriller. Now, Thriller was a 9-track album. Every song on the album was brilliant. I mean, it just goes to show that Michael actually released 7 of those songs as singles. Obviously, there were 3 music videos. There was Billie Jean, there was Beat It, and then there was Thriller. And along with Thriller, the music video, there was also the film, I can't remember how long it was, 20 minutes I think it was, which as a kid, I remember my grandfather showed it to me, and again, massive fan of Michael, but I was really scared. And just to show the brilliance of this album, the 2 songs that he didn't release as a single, the first one was called Baby Be Mine, which is track number 2, but the second one is the last track on the album. And I remember I had a friend who first showed me this song, The Lady in My Life. Absolutely brilliant song. And if you're familiar with the artist LL Cool J, he had a song called Hey Lover. That sample from Hey Lover is taken from The Lady in My Life. So if you don't know that song, please have a listen to it. It's an absolutely wonderful song. Track number 9, Thriller, The Lady in My Life. Now, Thriller, if we're talking about numbers, it is still the biggest selling album. So with Thriller, we're talking about numbers. Came out in 1982. We're now in 2024. It is still the biggest selling album of all time. I think it's absolutely outrageous how good the album is. And not only that, I mean, the actual Thriller album, some of the songs were responsible for some really key moments in history. So for example, MTV had just started, and one of the things that MTV was criticized for was not having any black artists. Billie Jean was actually the second song by a black artist that was in heavy rotation. I was quite surprised at that. I actually thought it was the first. So when I found out what was the first, I was quite surprised, because it is a song that I know and you know, which is a song called Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth. So Musical Youth was the first artist that was on heavy rotation on MTV. Second was Michael Jackson. This is only by a couple of weeks. One of the quotes I read that Michael said when he talked about the Thriller album, and I quote, is that he wanted to create an album, or I want to create an album where every song was a killer. That's what he said when he wanted to make the Thriller album. And you know what? Michael got it spot on. Thriller is an absolute work of art. Let's move to 1987. And my personal Michael Jackson album that I had the most connection with, because at the time it was the one that I listened to the most. So we're talking about Bad. Bad was Michael's 7th solo album. Again, it was the last album that was produced by Quincy Jones, and I think Bad is a marvelous album. It's got some tracks on there which, you know, are probably some of Michael's most well-known tracks. So you've got the title track Bad, you've got The Way You Make Me Feel, you've got Man in the Mirror, you've got I Just Can't Stop Loving You, Dirty Diana, and Smooth Criminal. Absolute wonderful songs. Funny enough, when I was thinking about the Bad album, I was thinking about Man in the Mirror. Is this still a thing? I don't know if this is a thing which is only happens in England, but when I was growing up, one of the things that we did in school, in assemblies, that we would sing, and Man in the Mirror was one of the songs that we would always sing. I don't know if schools still do that, but it was some good memories. Sometimes, you know, going back down memory lane, hearing certain songs and thinking, oh yeah, I used to sing that with my friends in assembly in school. This was in primary school, so between the ages of sort of 5 and 11. Is it still a thing? If it is, let me know in the comments. I think along with Bad, there was also the film Moonwalker. So if you remember, Moonwalker was quite a popular film. It actually even became a video game. So Moonwalker sort of coincided with the Bad album. So you had a lot of the tracks from Bad were used in Moonwalker, and some of the songs had longer videos. So Smooth Criminal, and I spoke about it earlier. Honestly, I think the choreography on Smooth Criminal is probably the best ever, especially if you look at the long video. Honestly, watch the Smooth Criminal video again, and even just look at the people on the table sitting down. Everybody's doing something which goes with the music and goes with the song. It's an absolute work of art. I'm just going to give an honourable mention to some of Michael's other work. So the Dangerous album, 1991. And I think Dangerous was, again, an album which wasn't produced by Quincy Jones. Teddy Riley had quite a lot of involvement. And do you know what? I think Dangerous is a better album than people remember. I had some really, really good tracks on there. So you had, obviously, the title track Dangerous. You had Black and White with Macaulay Culkin in the video. You had Remember the Time with Eddie Murphy. You had Heal the World, I believe, was on that album. So that was a really, really good song. And you had a personal favourite of mine was In the Closet. And again, interesting fact for you if you didn't know. So if you remember the video, Michael Jackson was with Naomi Campbell. And one of the things that I remember reading a long, long time ago was that Michael actually wanted Madonna to play that role. And from what I remember, she only would agree to do it if she dressed as a man and Michael dressed as a woman. Michael said no, and as a result, Naomi Campbell was cast. But again, brilliant song, so underrated. So in closing, I just want to just highlight the fact that Michael is, in my opinion, the greatest musical entertainer, the greatest musical artist of my generation, and personally I think of all time. I mean, I literally could sit down and talk about Michael for hours, talk about his work and highlight other bits, but I just wanted to make the short video just to, salute MJ. Again, it's been 15 years since he's gone. His music will never be forgotten. His legacy will never be forgotten. And I just wanted to share this video with you guys. So if you like this content, please press that like button, press that subscribe button to be notified when I post my next video. And please, if you liked anything I said, or if you got any particular memory about Michael, any interesting facts, personally I would love to know it. So please pop it in the comments. I will certainly have a read, and it's all about learning new stuff every day. Guys, thank you for watching this content, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Crazy World We Die In.